Have you ever returned from visiting someone feeling more exhausted and unsettled than before you left? As we age, something as simple as visiting others may no longer be as harmless as it once appeared. It might be slowly draining you in ways that aren't immediately obvious. This message is especially for those in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who are encouraged to socialize more, or who feel pressured to continue making the rounds among friends and family, even when it doesn't feel right. If you've ever felt guilty about declining a visit, it could be your body and mind signaling an important truth. Not every invitation is a blessing, and not every social interaction is beneficial. One of the more difficult realizations that comes with age is understanding that your energy, time, and presence are no longer endless resources. They must be protected, valued, and shared thoughtfully. In this stage of life, it's important to acknowledge something many older adults quietly experience, but rarely express: that frequent or unmindful visiting might be doing more harm than good. Recognizing this reality doesn't mean you care less. It means you're prioritizing your well-being. And by doing so, you're actually honoring yourself and your relationships. When you listen to what your mind and body are telling you, you can create more peace, safeguard your health, and deepen your self-respect. In the following discussion, we'll explore 5 key reasons why older adults need to be more mindful about when and how they visit others, and how choosing to stay home more often might actually be the most compassionate and healthy decision for both you and those you care about. Reason number 1, energy depletion. As people grow older, energy is no longer something they can rely on effortlessly. It becomes a limited resource that must be carefully preserved, much like water in a desert. Even visiting loved ones, no matter how dear, often takes more energy than expected. Preparing for the visit, traveling, engaging in conversation, trying to appear cheerful or put together, and finally returning home. All of this can leave a person completely worn out. What used to be a casual visit now feels like a major undertaking. Many older adults don't openly talk about the fatigue they experience after social interactions. Some feel ashamed or worry that others will think they're unfriendly or overly sensitive. However, the reality is that the body's ability to recover, particularly the nervous system, slows down with age. An outing that once felt refreshing may now require a full day or longer to recuperate from. During this recovery, sleep can be affected, the immune system may become more vulnerable, and mood swings can arise unexpectedly. Another factor is the subtle pressure to perform socially. Even when loved ones don't place demands on them, seniors often feel they must be upbeat, smile more than they feel like, suppress physical discomfort, and avoid expressing personal worries. When visiting younger family members, for example, they may find themselves listening more than sharing, pushing aside their own needs in the process. Over time, this quiet strain accumulates, leading to deeper exhaustion than they realize. Consider Margaret, age 72. She used to visit her daughter and grandchildren twice a week, but she began noticing that after each visit, she felt worse. Her knees hurt, her sleep was disturbed, and her digestion was off. At first, she didn't understand why, until her doctor explained that it wasn't just physical fatigue, it was emotional and mental strain as well. Margaret decided to cut back her visits to once every 2 weeks, and soon her energy returned. Her family even noticed that she was more engaged, calmer, and more like her old self. With age, energy needs to be treated like money. It shouldn't all be spent on one outing. Instead, it should be budgeted carefully. Sometimes the wisest choice is to stay home, allow the body to recharge, and reserve energy for places and people that truly feel nourishing. Preserving that energy isn't selfish. It's essential for well-being and longevity. Reason number 2, emotional expectations. For many older adults, social visits aren't just physically demanding. They come with emotional complexities that can be even more exhausting. When stepping into someone else's space, particularly a family member's, seniors often find themselves under a quiet but persistent pressure. There are unspoken expectations in every smile, comment, or glance. To be pleasant, to stay longer, to avoid bringing up health issues, or at times to speak about them. These emotional cues can make visits feel less like warm reunions and more like performances. where older adults feel they have to meet certain invisible standards. This emotional strain is subtle but profound. Unlike physical tiredness, it's harder to recognize and admit, yet its effects linger longer. Seniors may begin to overanalyze what they said, questioning if they talked too much or shared something inappropriate. They notice when a story is met with silence or abruptly dismissed with a change of subject. Slowly, they start to wonder if their presence was truly welcome or merely tolerated. And these doubts can stay with them for days. This emotional toll is often compounded by the generational divide. Older adults may continue visiting simply because they always have, out of habit or even guilt. But they may overlook how the emotional climate has changed. Younger family members, even with the best intentions, might not grasp how emotionally sensitive older age can be. A teasing remark may hit harder than expected. Conversations may revolve around things the senior no longer relates to, or worse, they may sit through a visit feeling invisible, while others are preoccupied with phones or distractions. Take Walter, age 78, as an example. He made a point of visiting his nephew's family every Sunday for months. Then one evening, his nephew's wife casually mentioned, "You know, you don't have to come every week." She likely meant it kindly, but it had a deep impact on Walter. He stopped coming, not in anger, but with the realization that he had been making more effort than anyone else, and that his presence was more about their routine than a genuine connection. He chose to step back and preserve his emotional well-being. When visits are driven by obligation rather than joy, quiet resentment can build. In our later years, the last thing anyone needs is more hidden emotional pain. Protecting one's emotional boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect and wisdom. If spending time with someone leaves you feeling diminished, it's not your responsibility to fix the relationship. It's your responsibility to stop placing yourself in situations that chip away at your sense of self. Recognizing when an emotional environment is no longer nourishing is a form of maturity. It's okay to choose peace over appearances. Reason number 3, the health risk factor. As we grow older, even brief social visits can pose unexpected risks to our health. With age, the immune system naturally becomes less robust, making older adults more vulnerable to germs and infections. Homes with young children or high-foot traffic, where people come and go throughout the day, can be hotspots for viruses and bacteria. What might be a harmless cold for a grandchild could lead to a week of illness or worse for a 75-year-old. And unlike younger individuals, seniors often take longer to recover from these seemingly minor ailments. Compounding the problem, many older adults tend to minimize or ignore early symptoms, delaying care until their condition becomes more serious. Social visits may appear harmless on the surface, but the reality is different when you consider the risks involved. From handshakes and hugs to shared meals, door handles, and restrooms, a short visit can involve dozens of contact points where germs are easily transmitted. Fatigue also plays a major role. Staying alert, engaged, and sociable for extended periods takes a toll on the body, especially if the visit is lengthy or overstimulating. Add to that the social pressures to eat what's served, stay up later than usual, or participate in lively conversation, and it's no longer just a casual gathering, it's a source of physical stress. Take Edith, age 84, as an example. She cherished time with her daughter's family, but after each visit, she would feel completely drained for days. One weekend, she unknowingly caught a stomach virus from her toddler grandson, who had recently been sick at preschool. For Edith, what started as a mild bug led to a trip to the emergency room for severe dehydration. After that incident, she and her daughter agreed on a new rule: no visits if anyone was even slightly unwell. It was a difficult decision, but ultimately a necessary one to safeguard Edith's health. Older adults rely on consistent routines, steady meal times, regular medication schedules, and restful sleep to maintain their well-being. Visits, especially unplanned ones, can disrupt all of these. Skipped pills, late meals, or even one night of poor sleep can raise blood pressure, spike blood sugar, or trigger lingering aches and pains. The visit itself might seem harmless, but it's often the cascade of changes it brings, physical, emotional, and logistical, that takes a toll. So when considering a social visit in later life, it's important to pause and reflect. Will this interaction support my health, or will it slowly erode the strength I've worked hard to preserve? Being mindful of these risks isn't about being overly cautious. It's about respecting the unique needs of an aging body and choosing wisely for long-term wellness. Reason number 4, the unseen financial burden. Not every visit comes without a cost, even when money isn't mentioned. Many older adults experience a quiet pressure to give during social visits, especially with children or younger relatives. No one may ask directly, but the urge to contribute, avoid being a burden, or express love through small gestures often leads seniors to spend more than they realize. These acts of generosity might seem minor: picking up snacks for the grandkids, paying for a meal, offering help with gas money, or slipping a few dollars to someone in need. Maybe it's buying a toy, grabbing groceries on the way, or helping out with a utility bill. Each gesture feels small at the time, but for someone on a fixed income or living off retirement savings, these small expenses gradually add up and can become a real financial strain. Take Paul, age 78, for example. He visited his niece's family every other weekend, often bringing baked goods, small gifts, or pitching in when he saw them struggling. Over time, he began to notice his savings decreasing more quickly than expected. After meeting with his financial planner, Paul was shocked to learn that these quiet acts of kindness had cost him over $3,000 in just 2 years. He hadn't intended to overspend, he simply wanted to help, but it left him with growing financial anxiety. The deeper issue lies in how older adults often link their self-worth to being helpful. When visiting loved ones, many feel the need to contribute, emotionally, physically, or financially, to feel valued. Even if no one expects it, internal feelings of pride or responsibility can push seniors to overextend themselves. This can create a cycle where affection becomes unintentionally tied to financial giving. Without clear boundaries, visits can evolve into situations where love feels inseparable from spending. And when money becomes tight, emotional well-being can decline alongside it. That's why it's so important to recognize and respect personal limits. Offering love and support doesn't have to come with a price tag. Being mindful of financial boundaries doesn't make you selfish. It protects your long-term peace of mind. As we age, preserving both emotional and financial stability is not only wise but necessary for a balanced and fulfilling life. Reason number 5, the risk of disrupting your personal rhythm. As we age, the structure and flow of our daily routines become more than just habits. They serve as anchors that help us feel stable, clear-headed, and in control. This personal rhythm provides a sense of balance, both physically and mentally. However, frequent visits to others, whether to family, longtime friends, or neighbors, can slowly pull us out of that rhythm. Without realizing it, we start living according to someone else's schedule instead of our own. It's not just about shifting meal times or altering bedtime. It's about the gradual loss of control over how we spend our time. You might prefer slow, quiet mornings, meals at a consistent hour, or an afternoon rest. But when visiting someone else's home, those preferences are often set aside. You may find yourself eating later than usual, sitting for longer than your body's comfortable with, engaging in conversations when you'd rather be resting, or skipping your usual walk because the visit ran long. These adjustments might seem insignificant at first, but when they happen frequently, they disrupt your internal sense of order. For older adults, losing that rhythm can quietly affect everything from digestion and sleep patterns to blood pressure and emotional stability. There's also a deeper psychological impact. Our daily routine represents more than physical habits. It reflects our autonomy, our ability to make choices and manage our energy. When that control is consistently interrupted by well-meaning social engagements, it can lead to an underlying sense of restlessness or disconnection. You may begin to feel like you're always adapting to others and gradually losing touch with yourself. Eugene, age 76, shared how he used to visit a friend every Sunday to watch football and chat. While it began as a fun tradition, over time he noticed the cost. He no longer read his Sunday paper, missed his quiet coffee on the porch, and gave up his usual walk. He began to feel mentally scattered, not because of the visit itself, but because his Sunday no longer felt like it belonged to him. As we grow older, peace is found less in major experiences and more in the small, personal rituals we build into our day. When we sacrifice these routines too often for social obligations, We may feel unbalanced without understanding why. Protecting your personal rhythm isn't selfish. It's essential. It's a way of honoring your body, mind, and spirit. And sometimes that means kindly declining visits that would throw you off course. Final thoughts. Aging brings the understanding that true peace doesn't come from being constantly available, always informed, or endlessly accommodating. Instead, it comes from being intentional, choosing carefully where you go, who you spend time with, and what you allow into your personal space. Declining frequent visits doesn't mean you're shutting people out. It means you're valuing authenticity over obligation and meaningful connection over mere presence. You've earned the freedom to rest when you need to, reflect when you wish, and offer your time only when it truly feels right. If you've ever come home from a visit feeling more exhausted than uplifted, you're not alone. Many older adults experience this quiet, emotional fatigue, not because of the visit itself, but because of the internal pressure to be cheerful, stay longer than comfortable, and meet unspoken expectations. Now is the time to prioritize your own well-being. Build a life that nurtures your health, respects your inner pace, and brings you peace by allowing space to simply be yourself. Sometimes that means saying no more often, without guilt or explanation. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it's wise. It's about creating a life that feels good to live, not one shaped by the needs or expectations of others. So ask yourself, have you ever left a visit feeling more drained than fulfilled? If so, what have you learned about setting boundaries and preserving your energy? Share your experience in the comments and help others feel less alone on this journey toward intentional, peaceful living. Thanks for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment sharing one insight you gained and how you might apply it in your life. Your feedback means a lot and motivates us to keep creating valuable content. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support helps us continue delivering inspiring and informative videos. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.